Okay, welcome. We are at the top of the hour, so we'll go ahead and get started. I think people are still trickling in, so we'll go ahead and get some logistical information out of the way. So welcome to Performance Analytics Academy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to new attendees. If this is your first time, we appreciate that you are coming. We're going to have some really good content and then some Q&A or some demo and then some Q&A. And we generally will answer questions that are related to the content that we're going over today. And then if we have time, we'll answer any other questions that may come into the queue. So please do utilize the Q&A whenever you do ask those questions. And for anybody that is returning, welcome back. We're happy to see you as well. So real quickly here, if I can get my slides, there we go. So this is for you. So we try as hard as we can to bring fresh ideas and better understanding and practical guidance around performance analytics and reporting. And, if there's things that you have interest in that are being going over in the session and you have more questions, as I was saying earlier, please make sure that you ask questions around that information. This is going to be recorded. It always is. So we can put this out on YouTube later. So if your organization has an issue with that, you may want to go ahead and drop now. But again, this is being recorded so you can access it later on whether it be today or any other time in the future. And like I said, it will be out on YouTube later on this afternoon, or if not first thing in the morning, but most likely later on this afternoon. So again, utilize the Q&A and make sure that you're asking those questions in the Q&A box as opposed to the chat. If you can do that. And myself and Adam Stout is on, and Anka as well, who is our presenter. And if there are questions that we can answer as she's doing the presentation, we'll do that. If there are questions that are being asked that are directly related to the content at that point in time, in between those slides, I may stop Anka and go ahead and ask that question, and she can answer it then rather than waiting to the end. And like I said, if you do ask a question that is unrelated to the content itself, we will try to get to those during the Q&A session towards the end of the Academy session today. Like I said, Anka is going to be the presenter today. My name is Thomas Davis. I'm sure that most of you are familiar, but we're grateful to have Anka here today, and she is going to do a presentation on the Now Experience filters, or unified filters, as some may call them. So with that, Anka, if you are ready, I'm going to go ahead and let you take control and share your screen, and then we'll just sit back and enjoy your presentation.
Okay, so my name is Anka. I'm a product manager, part of the performance analytics and reporting area. So my main focus is on the Now Experience platform, and more particularly on the filter side of it. I'm super excited to be here to show you everything that we've been working on lately. But before I walk you through the presentation, I will have to pull this slide out because the safe harbor notice for forward-looking statement. We might be talking about capabilities and functionality that is not yet available or is going to be available in future releases. Definitely, I will be showing you some features that are available in Quebec or in Rome or even in San Diego. So having said that, let's go dig into it. So unified filters as part of the Now Experience platform, you already know, I hope, or if you don't yet, you have to know that we're going through a very big project, which is a replatforming initiative. And with that gave us the opportunity to rethink our entire filters capabilities, and with that also visualizations and much more than that. But particularly talking about filters, we know that the main pain point that we have right now is by having two different experiences when we talk about filters in PA versus reporting. So in the Now Experience platform, the main benefit that we're bringing from the very beginning is unifying these experiences. So from now on, we're not going to be talking about interactive filters working with reporting or breakdown sources or breakdowns working with performance analytics. From a user perspective and from configuration perspective, we are talking about the same thing, which is a filter. So from now on, the configuration is going to be simplified. Only one filter that applies for both type of visualizations, which is visualizations that handle the tables which we used to call reporting, and visualizations that are handling indicators, which we used to call widgets. So one filter experience that works with visualization, one filter experience in configuring the filter itself, either if we're talking about the dashboard or about out-of-the-box workspace or any type of workspace custom that you want to define and configure for your employees. And then we started by setting the foundation of the Now Experience filters. On top of that foundation, we are going to add more and more configurations. The target is to have a high level of configurability in what concerns the filters. So I said consumption, I said configuration. Consumption, what we call consumption is what the end user sees. Again, we're talking about unification. So it's only one unified design pattern in what concerns filters, and only one way of the user seeing a filter, what we call a filter pill on the page, to apply it on visualizations. So if you see here priority, we call it as a filter pill. Clicking on the pill itself, it opens the elements of the filter. And then we go into what type of filters we have available. You will see here it's a single select, then followed by a multi-select, a date filter, and a Boolean filter. Again, a unified way of seeing what are the filters being applied. So you can see if one element of the filter was selected. So you open the pill, select an element, and then you see that the element was being applied by the one indicator in here. You'll be seeing more of that in the demo itself. And also, you'll be seeing the indication that the filter was applied on a specific visualization. So for each visualization, there is an icon displaying what filters are being applied and what filters are not being applied. And most probably you already know that things can get pretty complex. So on a dashboard, you can have a mix of tables, a mix of indicators. Not necessarily all of them will apply that the filter that is selected on top. So that's the consumption, what the end user sees. Let's move on to the configuration side of it. So the idea is to allow the citizen developer to add and configure filters on any custom workspace or dashboard. And what I mean by that, they will have available a configuration panel. The configuration panel is gonna look the same regardless of the context the user is in, being a workspace definition or a simple page or a dashboard. And what I mean by citizen developer is the user that has admin rights to configure a page or a dashboard. The user that doesn't necessarily have technical skills, but for example, if he's configuring a workspace, he might need to configure some scripts and some parameters to bind the data, to bind the filter with the visualization. And I'll show you immediately what that means. Okay, so as of Quebec, we have only 4 filters that are supported, which is the reference filter, choice filter, date filter, and Boolean. Moving forward, definitely we'll add more capabilities onto it, like cascading filter and other features that need to be supported as a filter, but this is our foundation. It's available already starting with Quebec. Okay, so moving forward, we have 3 key principles on which that will set our direction from now on. So one is speed and simplicity in setup. So that the whole idea is to have a drag and drop component, easy to add on the page, easy to add on the dashboard, with a high level of configuration. As I said, we already set the foundation of it. Now it's time to add more capabilities on top. And then the third principle, which is very important, is to offer transparency and ease of use. So this is mostly dedicated to the end user, because he needs to know what are the values being filtered, what are the filters being applied, what are the visualizations impacted by what filters are being applied on the page. So with that, the whole presentation is done. Now we move into the demo stage, because I think it's more exciting to actually see it in action. So I'm already in UI Builder. I have on my page a few visualizations just to go through the main use cases. So what I have here is one visualization that is defined by using a table, the incident table. So this is what we used to call reports. And another visualization that is using the number of open incidents, which is an indicator. So this is what we used to call a single score widget. So a report and a widget. And then the third visualization on this page, on this canvas, is also a report, but the report is on a different table than the previous one. So this one is on the problem table, and this one is on the incident table. Then on top of the page, I have added already two filters on top, and later on we'll add a third one just to see the full flow. So what I did is to add the priority filter. And the priority filter, the filter configuration is pretty easy. So the first thing that you have to do is to define the filter, the data on which you want to apply the filter on. So I said in here that we need to use the incident table, and the filter is going to apply based on the priority. The third configuration is if I want to apply the filter that I'm just creating right now to all tables in hierarchy, which basically means do I want to apply this filter to problem, task, and other tables that are in the same hierarchy with the table that I just selected. Because this is a choice filter, the configuration of the values is also pretty simple. So I have here available all the elements defined for the priorities from this choice table. And I can select if I want to show all. By default, all of them are being displayed, or I want to hide a few. Let's say I don't want to show the none. If I want to add a different table and field on the same filter, because I know that I have another table and field on which I want to apply the same priority type of filter, having the same element, I can do that easily by using the add button. So, following section is about the filter label as the end user sees it on the page. So in this case, it's going to take the field name, but I can change it as I want. Following section is about the default values. So default values is something that the admin can decide to always populate the filter with one value or multiple values, depending on the type of the filter, which means that the end user, whenever he opens the page, he will always see the same value being applied. So I can select among the values that I previously configured to be available. Advanced options, I can decide if it's a multi-select or a single select type of filter, and if I want to allow the user to clear the filter or not. And the last configuration for the choice type of filter is the sorting direction, if it's ascending or descending. So based on this configuration, we are showing the elements of the filter in ascending or descending order. Now I will show you how it looks in consumption. So this is the stage of the citizen developer. This is the stage of the admin configuring the filter on the page. And now we see what the end user sees. So on the page, I have the 3 visualizations that I showed you previously and the 2 filters on top with the new name that I just selected. So for priority, I chose not to show the empty elements, and I also chose to display it as a multi-select. So what I can do is select a few elements and apply. I will see immediately that the indication of 2 elements being selected is available in here. And also the visualizations reacted to the filters that I have just selected. So in this case, the report all on the incident table showing all the incidents is showing me that the priority 1 filter was applied. And you can also see that the number is now changed. Also, the widget that uses the data from the indicator, number of open incidents, is also reacting to the filter that I just selected. And this is the indication that I have in here. The widget is applying the filter priority 1. The other report, because this report is on a different table than the table defined in the indicator, it's not applying the priority. What I can do now is configure this filter to apply to all tables in hierarchy. And this is the easiest way to make the report work with the new filter. And that's because problem and incident are tables that sit in the same hierarchy. So now when I apply the filter, the new report also reacts to it, just because I changed the settings to apply filter to all tables in hierarchy. Moving forward, so we just went through the configuration of a choice filter. The next configuration is for an assignment group, which is a reference type of filter. The data configuration is the same. I select the table, I select the field, I decide if I want to apply to all tables in hierarchy. Because the assignment group is a reference type of field, now the configuration will look a bit different. In configure values, I have the option to choose what elements to display by using the condition builder. So I have already here a condition saying name starts with S. I can remove that. And another configuration that is available is to define the label for the elements that are not selected, so that are empty. In this case, all the incidents that don't have an assignment group defined. So in this case, I chose no group being assigned. We'll save my selection. Following the filter label, as I want to show it to the end user, default values. I can select one or more default values. Allow multiple element selection. Let's decide this time to be a single select and allow clear filter not to be available. Again, sorting direction, ascending or descending, and this makes a bit more sense when you have a bunch of elements being displayed. And the last configuration in here is the number of elements to load at the time. So this applies for the filters in the case that we have a bunch of elements being available. So let's imagine assign 2, which might have hundreds of or more, even thousands of elements available. And for this, we have this option in here, allowing the admin to decide how many elements he wants to load at once. And then with lazy loading, the moment the user scrolls, he was gonna see another set of 500 or maybe even less or maybe even more. Select. Go back to consumption. And I see my assignment group. It's a single select. I can search for it and apply. You saw from the configuration that I decided for the clear button not to be available. So you see that the clear button is not available in here, which is a bit different than what we have in the other filter where I have the clear button available. So I can decide to just clear the selection. I apply the filter, same thing happens. The visualizations will react to my filter. The two visualizations that are using incident, being an incident table and also the incident indicator, will react to my filter. The other ones will not. One important note is that the widget will react to both the visualization that is using the indicator will react to both of the filter. We're still keeping right now the limitation of not more than 2 filters being applied. So if I had a third filter in here and I apply the third filter, the report will react to the filter, but the widget will show the third filter as filter not being applied. Okay, so we went through the filters that are already defined on the page. Next step, I will add one extra filter.
Hey, Anka, real quick, before you do that, just a question that came in that I think could be answered before you do that. So the question says, will this work to have the filter applied to tables outside of the hierarchy? And I believe that you had probably spoke to it earlier, and it may have been that where you add, I think maybe another table or whatnot rather than the actual hierarchy. So I don't know if you were going to show that, but I think that that's what they may be talking about. Right. Yeah, right there.
Yes. So in case the table is a totally different one, but has the same elements or references the same field, then you can, and it's not sitting in the same hierarchy, then you can do that by, let's say, problem. Let's imagine that this one doesn't sit in the same hierarchy. Then I can do the same thing and add a bunch of data sets in here, and the filter will apply to the widgets that are using these tables.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think that answers that. And then another one real quick, it says, and this may be, I don't know, it just says, is there a way to add a button to clear all filters, or is there just the way that it comes currently? Because I know that you showed earlier where you can actually clear those. So
yes, so you can clear the filter by clearing each filter individually, but that means that you have to open the popover or the slush bucket and clear every one of them. There is a way to do that by adding another button on the page with a small script that is clearing the state of the filter. I don't have the script right now, but it's as easy as, I don't know, adding a simple button, and this button to be configured with the event that is clearing the state of the filter.
Okay. And you don't have to try to figure out that script at this point. I mean, maybe you and I can get together after and we can actually attach it to this recording. That way, if someone has that. So you and I can get together after this call. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Now that we open the topic of scripts, it's a good segue to the next step. So what I'm going to do now is to add another filter. So the way we'll do that is either by searching in the component list from here. Similarly, I can do it by searching in the component list from here and drag and drop it on the page. As you can see, this one is not styled yet, and it's not configured yet. So first step, I will go into the configuration section and I will add the table incident. Then let's say I want to define a date filter. Apply it to all tables in hierarchy this time. By default, the name is defined based on the field that I just selected. I can choose to change it. I can define the default values if I want to, and decide if I want to clear it or not. The styling of it, it's the default styling that we have for all components. And the most important element, if you are in the context of a new page, is to configure the event for that filter, because otherwise the filter itself will not do anything. So let me just show you how it looks when a filter is not configured, when the event is not configured. And by configuring the event, I'm basically saying that the filter is not going to impact the visualization, is not publishing the elements that are being selected. You saw that I selected something. I selected the date, I apply it, but there's no visualization reacting to it, just because the event is not defined. So what I need to do here is to define the event in case the filter is being used, which is already available on the page in my case, which is applied filter. And behind this event is a script that is publishing the elements that are being selected in what we call the par filter state. And we also need to define the par filter state as being a JSON and is by default initiated with an empty value. So the script is available in the documentation, function field, and if I am not mistaken, no, not here. So this is the script that needs to be used. And this is the script that I also used on my page. And I applied it on my newly created filter. I will save. Configure it. And now I have this new filter. I don't know why it has a border. So when I use and apply the new elements, then all the visualizations that can react to this type of filter will do so. So the result will be the reports are reacting to my filter because it's a date filter. The indicator type of visualizations will not. And this is again a limitation that we have we had to keep. Maybe later on we'll solve this this one as well. A change from what we have right now in our classic environment, in our classic platform, is that the date is a date picker, which basically means that you can have the preset values, like last 7 days, last month, last 3 months, but you can also select your own custom interval. In this case, there is no data available. Another important element in what concerns the filter sits in the configuration for each data visualization. So in the configuration panel for a data visualization, I have 2 elements that are concerning filters. One is not to turn off the follow filters option. So if I decide that my all incidents visualization, I don't want it to follow filters, because I always want to show the total of something, then I can do that from the configuration of that visualization. And let's say the number of open incidents I want to for that visualization to follow the filter, but so I want to follow the filter, but I don't want to show the filter icon. Let's say I have only one filter available on the page, or every time the filter will react to the visualization, and I decide from a design point of view that it takes too much space, or it's not aligned to my design, then I can do that in this way. So if I select the priority filter, I see that this widget doesn't react to the selection that I just made. This one did, but I don't see the indication that the filter is being applied. And this one, I didn't do any change. So I already see that the filter icon is in there, and it impacted the result that I'm seeing. And with that, I think I covered everything related to filters.
Okay. Got some more questions that came in, and we'll see if we can get these knocked out here real quick. So what role is required and able to style in the UI builder? Do you know?
In order to access the UI builder, there is a specific role. There's no specific role for adding a filter or styling the filter.
And then, so something going back to the sorting of a filter, it says, what if you don't want to sort want sorting at all on the filter? Sometimes you want the sort to be on the values of the chart. Example, highest count first, planning, so on and so forth. Is that possible, or do you have to use the ascending descending directly on the filter itself?
the filter will always, the elements in the filter will always be sorted ascending or descending. So you would want what? A different type of sorting?
Well, I think what the question is asking is it's not even really applying any sorting or whatnot on the filter, on the results themselves. So if you had for example, your number of problems report there to the right, if that may potentially would be use the sorting of the values of each one of those to actually determine what the sorting is inside of the filter itself. So for example, if high had more values in it than critical, then maybe high would be inside that drop down for the priority. It would be listed higher than critical. And sometimes I have heard questions in the community asked about that even prior to this, but so that kind of might be outside of the scope. And Adam, I don't know if you have an answer to that or the direction that they're going or any thoughts around that.
Yeah, so I can take this one because the elements inside the filter, they're not decided based on the widgets that you have on the page. So I think I understood the concept that you're saying in here, but imagine you have multiple visualizations. It would be very difficult to know based on which to do the sorting. So what happens actually is we are reading the entire list in case you didn't filter it already with the configuration. And the list that is available from the table is being shown. It doesn't interact at all with the values or the widgets that are on the page. Only the moment when you're applying a filter, when you're selecting and impacting the visualization. So the interaction is from filter to visualization, not from visualization to filter.
And I'll just sort of add into that. If you did do it and you saw that other tools do connect, you then have to query the data twice. So it's inherently a performance problem, which we don't want to see. And then second to that, you have empties. And so particularly with different reports, but we want to be able to choose, let's say managers, or if I'm looking at my teams, just because you don't have an open problem right now, doesn't mean I don't want to see you. So I want to be able to select the team and see that there is no data. So all that adds into it being that disconnection is generally a good thing.
Another one we had is in reporting, we had the option of cascading filters. Is this option available?
Not yet, but one of our targets moving forward would be to move all the capabilities that we have right now in interactive filters and breakdown sources to move them in the new platform. So yeah, at one point this cascading option will also be available.
Another one says, is unified filters applicable only for dashboards, or is there a plan to roll this out to simple for PA dashboards, or is there a plan to roll this out for simple dashboards? It's kind of a confusing question.
Yeah, simple reports, I think, was the clarification. So I think what they're saying is just reports on their own. I'm not quite sure if that's what's intended or what.
Or classic dashboards versus Now Experience. That's
there we go. Okay.
So definitely the unification of filters will be available as part of the Now Experience, and the dashboards are the ones that are created in the Now Experience platform. This is the ones that I'm referring to right now. What I just created in here is not a dashboard. It's actually a simple experience page. And that's the reason I had to do the event binding of the data. If you're in the context of a dashboard in the new platform, then this event will not be required. Because it's... yeah, go ahead.
This is not for the older classic dashboards or the old classic reporting. This is all about everything we're looking at now is in the new Now Experience, which has been rolling out over the last few releases. And again, we're going to see, we see more. We saw some in Quebec, CSM moved into it. Rome has more as well, which you can see in if you go look at the PDIs and look at the documentation. This is the new world that we're all going to be moving into. It's going to be, refined more, but a lot of these enhancements that we've all been asking for, we see them here, but don't expect them to go back to be put into the older framework that we have. Those things, the way it works is the way it works, but the new experience is where we're seeing all these tremendous improvements and flexibility putting in that you guys have been asking for.
Okay, great. Moving forward. So one question that's going back to the script portion that you had done, it says, what's going on with having to put in scripts again? Is that necessary for choice, reference, Boolean, etc., or just date? If just date and it's a standard script, can it be in platform and not copy pasted from the docs site?
Yeah, so as I said, for the dashboard experience, this type of action that I did for defining the filter is not going to be needed. So if you're adding a simple dashboard in the new platform, that's a step that definitely you'll have to skip because it's already binded with the visualizations. Now, because I added a simple page, I had to do it. And we are working on having the script available out of the box. Not available yet, but indeed we do have it on our list. And it's not only for the date, it's also available. The binding of the data, adding the script and the mapping, selecting the script as the event needs to be done for all the filters for them to work and populate the state for the visualizations to react to that state. This is how the filter and the visualizations are communicating, basically.
Okay, great. Can we use this filter on catalog item variables? Can you create a unified filter for catalog item variable?
If that filter is a choice, reference, or date or Boolean, then yes. I don't know what type of field the one you're referencing to right now is.
It's when you're doing the mapping. So we added catalog variables into the standard report builder a release or two ago. So it's how you choose it when you're choosing the mappings, which the variables themselves can be any of the types, but it's just simply how we get to it. It's not a standard reference. It's a variable type. Which we can look real quick. Can you change from incident to catalog item? Hopefully we'll get to, or request, maybe requested item will have it.
The name of the table, requested item.
Requested item, and the field. I don't know if we have variables. This is looking promising to me. No. So we should have had a choice of the variables there on which variable to choose for all the items.
Okay.
So I think we'll have to take a look at that. It does not look like it works on this demo instance that we have, but we'll go back and look at that.
Okay, great. And actually, going back to the script question again, and they're just asking for a little bit more clarity of some context of the way that you said things. So it says, I asked a question about the event scripts. I'm sorry, what do you mean about no for dashboards, yes for pages? Can you explain with greater context, please? Thank you. So I think it's understanding the difference between dashboards and pages.
Okay, so there's this option for you to add an experience and a new experience for the employees, your own app, your own flow that you want to cover. And this is what we call the custom experience. And this is what I did. I started with a page, blank canvas, and I just added a few, in my case, I added a few filters and a few visualizations. But I can do the same if I just want a presentation in a dashboard. Maybe because we're talking about the same thing, like filters and visualizations, but imagine in here I can add buttons, I can add text, I can add a different type of flow on the page itself. But in the context of a dashboard, and I think there was another session a few
on dashboards.
On dashboards. And that's the place where you can add visualization filters and all of that with a simplified configuration. I don't know if that explains.
I'll add in for us old people. who've been around for a long time. So the way that I look at it is pages are like forms. This is not quite right, and my marketing person might come and yell at me, but pages are kind of like forms. There's stuff on them. There's things to do, whether it's a custom UI page or a form. And then we have dashboards, which are essentially just reporting, but can have some stuff on them. In Now Experience, that line gets way blurred, where our forms now have not just a report block. We for a very long time, we've been able to put a report onto a form, but no PA and lots of things we can't do. And Now Experience, a page, we can just do lots of things. We do anything, whether it's the widgets, the forms, the buttons. Instead of having to use a custom UI page, we can just, it's limitless. Everything in the platform can be done in a page, but there's still absolutely a use case for a dashboard, right? I just need to look through different analytics. I need to be able to switch through different dashboards while I'm on there. And as Anka's doing now, we can embed dashboards into that. So I think of dashboards as a collection of data visualizations generally, which can be part of a page, part of the experience. But sometimes that's what you want, and other times when I'm interacting, when I'm working in my workspace on my page, I want these three single scores and this data visualization along with this form, and I want to take all these actions. Then I'm going to be in a page where I have a very, very prescriptive thing that I'm doing, and then I might have a dashboard, again, in our traditional dashboard world, where I just have a bunch of analytics that I'm interacting with.
Yeah, so I just added this new widget, which is called Dashboard Viewport, and I opened the Dashboard Builder, and you can see the difference. So UI Builder, and it has, in here you have a bunch of components available. And then on the other side, you have the Dashboard Builder, which has a few of the components available that are specifically needed for the context of building the dashboard. So in here, when you're adding a filter, the same experience, the only difference being that the event is not needed anymore because it's defined by default behind the scenes.
And when you're on a page, you use the script because you put the script in, because what you did was very standard, and we can work on that. But on a page, you can have the events do anything, right? So
yeah.
Please correct me if I'm wrong, but on the event, we're generally having that filter driver report, but you're not bound by anything. You can have it do other things as well. Other custom components can be listening to that. It can drive whatever behaviors, the on clicks, you're able to configure very detailed on what you want to have happen. So this is, in the past, you were limited on what you can do, how you interact with our things. When you're in the Now Experience world, there's a little bit more complication, but there's amazing amount of flexibility. So we'll continue to refine, but as we go through this, we're going through the standard use cases that we know we're going to be talking about, but there's just infinite flexibility now. We have a lot less limitations on, you can't do that.
Okay, great. So we have a couple questions that aren't necessarily related to filters, but they are about, UI Builder and things of that sort, and they're kind of around sharing. So Anka, if you can answer it, that's great. If not, we'll make sure that somebody, a panelist here, can. But the first one is, as we were just talking about pages, it talks about how do you share, or can you share a page across an organization? Meaning, how do you make sure that multiple people can see what you're actually creating, I guess is the question.
So it's about sharing the page or sharing the dashboard that you just created?
Right.
So let's take the example of a dashboard. I just created one. It's not fully configured, but it is what it is. So in my case, because we already, for dashboards, we already have the option of sharing with an user. I think it's not necessarily working on my instance. We have the option of sharing it with a user or with a group of users. The dashboard that I just created. But
So
I
it's at the
can-
dashboard level itself.
It's
There
at
would
the
be
dashboard,
something
yeah.
that you would see.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, it's kind of outside the scope of it. So
Yeah, I will not. Yeah, I will not try because might be running into some troubles. Yeah.
okay. And I can get some documentation that I can attach to the community event that will actually show that.
Yeah, now I can show it to you. So there's a sharing button for the dashboard that I created, so you can share it with the users. One or multiple users, and give it the right to view or to contribute, to add widgets and change configurations. And let's say you want to share it as a viewer, and you confirm, and that's it.
Okay, awesome.
The entire dashboard with everything that is available on that dashboard.
Okay, so that actually is a great segue into the other questions, and it kind of, and both of them kind of relate to the way that it things worked in a classic stand perspective. So you would have to share reports and then also share the dashboard. But what you're saying here is you don't necessarily have to do that, or do you still have to do some sort of sharing on a report, even though you've shared the dashboard that may have reports on it?
As far as I know, the sharing part in the new platform is sharing the dashboard with all the reports and the widgets on it. I'm not 100% sure, so maybe we should double check this information.
Well, there's not a report object anymore, right? I believe it's just sharing the workspace dashboard. That's all we need to do. And then we have the should honor the new report view ACL. So there, I believe that in general, we want to get rid of that double layer of sharing. Report basically went away anyway, and we want to honor ACLs more clearly. So you'll see that even without this, with the report view ACL changes. But yeah, unless somebody really wants to have that double layer of sharing, we'd like to get rid of it.
Maybe it's an important thing to mention. So at least right now, whatever visualization or filter you're adding on the page, it belongs to the page. So it's not, they're not saved in a repository, they cannot be reused. So we still have this limitation right now for the Now Experience platform, that you need to create over and over again the same report if you need it on different dashboards. Moving forward, definitely we'll have a common repository where we're going to keep all the visualizations and all the filters that need to be reused. But as of now, what I have on the page belongs to the page only.
Awesome. Thank you. So I don't see any other questions that have come in. And so Anka, let me say thank you very much for, well, actually one came back in, says, what if you created a data set with a filter? I don't know that I necessarily understand what they're saying there, but
Data set.
Can you use it over and over? I guess what he's saying is that if you create a filter here, can that be reusable somewhere else, or is it just apply to this particular page?
Not yet. So it's applying only to that specific page. If you want the priority filter on a different dashboard or on a different page, even though it's the same table, same field, same configuration, you will have to define it again.
And then Edward is saying like a report source. I think that the context of that is being able to use whatever you create here on this page. Is it reusable somewhere else? And Adam, I don't know if you're when you look at that question,
yeah, that's what I see. So in reports,
yeah.
So one of the things we're able to do in the classic world is define open incidents or my open incidents as a report source, which then I can use in a report. And I believe that the answer in this world is no. Today, everything's built from scratch, with the idea, since we have the safe harbor, that how do we make some things more reusable? But the feedback we've gotten over the years is that report sources, do we have the report source?
We do have the report source, but the widget itself cannot be reused. So the report source you can, when you define. So I was in the context of a data visualization. I just changed this one. I selected incident, and I see all the report sources that belong to this table. So I want incident result.
So we call them very clearly filters for the table. So we select the table, and then select the filters. Along with it. And those are the existing report sources. So there's nothing we have to do to migrate or recreate. If I'm using report sources today, this migration is just easier now. They'll be exposed as reusable filters for those tables.
Yes, but the whole widget, if you need it on a different page, then you have to do the same thing on that page or on that dashboard. Let's make it easier on that dashboard. So that's why when you share the dashboard with somebody, it's actually sharing the whole view of the page.
Thank you. And Adam, I don't know if you're seeing the comments that are questions that are coming in from Stephen, but it kind of talks to what you were talking about there, and maybe it's just an understanding.
No, I mean, it's in there. I mean, it's the trade-off and where we get back into it, that in the past, we locked down the widgets, and the sharing was not well understood. So we would have lots of duplicate stuff that was slight variations, or we'd make a change and I would change something that would impact you, and you would change it back, and it wouldn't break my stuff. So at this point, like the widgets and the filters are built from the ground up. But the question is, well, but I want to govern it and make sure that once it's defined, it's what's defined, and it's defined correctly and reused. I think that's where we're working on right now as we improve this and tighten it up, is how do we allow that reusability? There is a difference too in this world, in that not everybody can build a dashboard. So the UI builder, the page we're looking at, that at this point, that's a developer activity. Not everybody can just create a page, just like not everybody can create a new form or a new view. That we're building those, and so they are expected to be governed, to be built, tested, governed, and be very reliable. There is a dashboard builder role, and we talked about this in the dashboards. But the dashboard builder role is a separate role. In Classic, I believe if you have any role, you can create a dashboard. I think it's, or maybe even no role. I think maybe anybody can have a dashboard even if you don't have a role at all. We let everybody build things, which is a governance issue. If I have 40,000 users, there's no world where 40,000 different dashboards is a good thing. So there is an expectation where we're going to pull it back a little bit so that you can control who can create things, so I don't have as bad of a governance. But there is some more work for us to do in here to make sure that we can have strong governance and testing, and understand what's going in, and that my concern is always that people are looking at the data the right way in terms of governance. I don't know if there's ACLs handle, am I seeing data I shouldn't see, which is obviously the biggest concern, and we handle that. But are you using it the right way? We do that today by just controlling who can create a widget, who can create an indicator, and the indicators are still governed, but the widgets themselves could be misused. So we have some polishing to do there.
Yeah, Stephen had a couple more comments. Yeah, we're working on it, Stephen. So great. All right, so a couple of other ones that are again out of sort of context of what the topic was, but maybe we can hit them. So David was asking, so no export to XML to make reusable objects a reality. So I guess something that you create here, if it's stored somewhere and you were able to export that to XML to then put it somewhere else, it would just kind of work for something. I don't think that we have that capability, or maybe yes or no. And I don't know if you can answer that, then maybe Adam.
We don't have it yet, but definitely on our list to solve in the future.
Okay, great.
And again, I'll say there's a trade-off for a lot of this stuff, where we learned from the history that we've had, that in the past everything was a form and everything was a table and a field, even for the styling stuff. So if you looked at like sys report, you have just 100 fields and different things in different places. So this was built with more flexibility, so we can add more components. Particularly, I think something that'll be interesting as we go forward. And I think there's the CreatorCon sessions on this about building custom components. It's amazingly powerful tools that we're putting out there. We'll continue to refine them as they go through, but a lot of things you've asked for. When we work on the reusability part of it, the configuration, we'll improve that. But again, I urge you to look at all the benefits that you're going to get where you can now build whatever you want to build. And it will work a lot less limitations, if any limitations, if you can build something just as good as we build it, to really get that experience to be amazing.
Okay, great, Adam. And then the very last one, it says, it looks like text and workbench widgets are not an option. Is that correct? Is that the case? Nanka, I don't know if you can answer that.
Workbench widgets, not yet, indeed. But again, we are in a transition, so we are slowly adding more capabilities. Text, we do have the option to add rich text to the dashboard page.
That might be the text analytics. There's a text analytics widget for performance analytics today, and I haven't seen that. But those are all components.
Okay.
We can take if one thing that you look at, just like we used to always, well, we still do, add content packs every release. I would look for more components to come out and be contributed out there. The component growth has been pretty amazing on what can she. We start out with these single scores and the pie charts and are expanding out the common things that we're using. But again, it's now limitless on how we can build new components. The ones that will produce out of box, and then ones that you can build or tune. What are the issues with the workbench? We always get asked for, well, how do I do this? Can I sort on here? Can I add a column here? Can I customize it? In the past, that's been no. It's been a very hard no. It is what it is. And in the component model that we have today, we don't have anything out of the box, but that wouldn't stop it from being built by us, from a partner, from you. And then once it's built, by copying it and modifying it the way you'd want to as well. We don't want to copy things needlessly. We don't want to create needless variation, but the component model we have is incredibly powerful.
Okay, great. Thank you, Adam. And again, Anka, thank you very much for showing us this really good unified filters, now experience filters today. Really good stuff that stimulated some really great questions as well. And this will be a really good source for upcoming questions that are in the community, that we can give them this recording that they can actually go back and watch and get some really great information from. So again, really appreciate what you've given us today. And for a time perspective, we got about a minute left. Just quickly, I'll kind of just go over some real quick things. So again, this information will be out on the Performance Analytics Academy community page. It'll be out there today. We'll get it out on YouTube as well. And there's a link where you can actually go and see that recording along with all the other recordings as well. Make sure that you always are checking out the community page itself that we have. There's really great predefined topics that are there with articles and blogs that are already there, and also trainings, links to trainings and things of that sort. So if you're new, make sure that you use that, especially when you have questions, to get probably answers to a lot of the questions you already have, but also, you can ask questions as well. And always don't forget about Now Learning, that has some really great, training that's out there that's available. So if you don't have account to that, you should definitely create one. And like I said, there's some really great training that's out there, and also some knowledge labs that are out there as well from Knowledge 21 that you can access as well. So take advantage of that. And then there's 3 other great sessions. Well, there's probably way more than that, but 3 other ones, specifically Platform Foundations, Mobile App Academy, and Virtual Agent Academy, that is out there. There's links for those as well. You should check those out, which again are very similar in structure to what we had here today, that can give you some really great information as well. And then the next time on September the 8th, we're actually going to have HR metrics that matter. So we're going to be talking about some things that are a little bit different outside of just standard PA, to actually put it to a use case around HR metrics. So I look forward to that as well. If you're going to ask questions, there's a really great article that's out there that can kind of help you make sure that you ask a really great question. So make sure that you check that out. And then, of course, just a reminder of all the things that I just told you. So thank you again for joining. Went over by 1 minute. I apologize for that. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. And Anka, thank you again for coming on and giving really great information today. So thank you to everyone, and we'll see you next time.